I want to start with just you ranking the sexiest AI companions that you've come across. Like, what's in your roster right now?
I have been studiously avoiding all of that. I'm aware it exists. Oh my God.
Really?
Nah, I don't even want to touch it. I don't want to touch it, man. How about you? You got a ranking? You got a tier list? What goes in the S? What goes in the D? You know what I mean?
I mean, Grok sexy mode can't pull me away from that thing. You know, it gets me. I don't use any AI girlfriends or companions at all. I've used AI and I've had it like talk to me in different
I'm sorry,
personalities.
I gotta stop, man. I don't use any AI girlfriends.
I don't.
The verb you use, like I don't have any, but you said I don't use any AI girlfriends.
I think it's a service, right? It's a tool.
It is. No, I just love that you actually use that because I think that's probably how we will be referring to it in the future. I think that's the verb. I think it's use, which brings up a whole other conversation. But yes, please go on.
No, I think it speaks to the utilitarian nature of these services. You know, it's a receptacle, if you will. I'm Ryan Broderick. Not with me today, finally, is my producer, Grant Irving. He is thankfully not here. Instead is our production coordinator, Josh. Welcome, Josh. You seem like you're in a beautiful backdrop right now. It looks like you're in like an old library.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me. I think I had the least amount of work to be done for just having a backdrop ready to go for a podcast.
It's very classy. This is Panic World, a show about how the internet warps our minds, our culture, and eventually reality. And we have decided that we're going to go back to everyone's least favorite topic, a topic that our listeners are totally normal about when we talk about it on this show. We're going to be talking about AI. And joining us from the wonderful podcast Kill Switch is Dexter Thomas. Dexter, welcome to the show.
Yo, what's going on? Glad to be here.
What is your experience with AI to this point? Like how are you interacting with it, if you're interacting with it at all?
Yeah, an embarrassingly large amount. I would say. I would like to I would like to say that I use it for good. Okay, so here's the thing. My cop-out answer to this is that I live in Los Angeles and I don't have a car by choice.
Okay.
I don't have a DUI. The government hasn't said I'm not allowed to have a car. Like if I wanted to, I could.
Sure.
But I'm not pumping CO2 into the atmosphere via a vehicle anyway, right?
Okay.
And so, and we actually did a whole episode about this. I was trying to figure out, okay, I kind of use AI a lot. Like what I use it for is I'll use it to write software or stuff like that, like vibe coding. Okay. I was a super early adopter of vibe coding. I know enough Python to break things, but not to fix them. And so I would break something and say, yo, Claude, ChatGPT, whatever, fix it. But I was using it so much because I'm just a bad programmer. That's it. I'm just not good at it. And so I tried to ask ChatGPT, okay, all right, let's run the math here. If I'm not driving a car every day to work and I take the bus instead or whatever, and I'm using AI, does that balance out? And it says, yes, of course it balances out. And they say, wait, hold on a second. I'm asking ChatGPT. I can't trust you. so we did a whole episode about it, and it turned out there's no good answer because the companies won't tell us about the water usage and all the electricity usage and all this stuff. But I use it a lot, but not for erotic companionship. That's not really my flavor.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. As I said, I don't also use it for erotic companionship. I have started to use it as kind of like a souped up technical help tool. I do a lot of electronic music, and there's a lot of connecting different machines that isn't easy to do. Although that said, ChatGPT sent me down a 5-day rabbit hole to try to do something that did not exist and was not possible, and I'm still very mad about it.
Yeah, you're so right to be upset and call me out about that. I'll be more careful next time.
Exactly. Yeah, and as a reporter, I don't obviously use it to write anything, but I have found that. And this is sad. It's ChatGPT can do something that Google used to be able to do very easily, but Google now doesn't work. So ChatGPT can do it, which is if you want to find particularly foreign news sources, like in other languages, ChatGPT is actually quite good. I was working on a story the other day about like these protests in Mexico, and I saw like Mexican Twitter chatter about this thing that I didn't understand, and I was able to like find Mexican blogs writing about this thing that people were referencing, and ChatGPT was able to like point me in that direction, which is something that Google would have been able to do 5-10 years ago. So that's kind of where I'm at with this revolutionary technology.
I've had the reverse.
Interesting.
Oh man, the exact reverse actually. So one time I was, to be fair, people will say, okay, well, which chat GPT were you using? Okay, I was using an earlier version, but for some reason, I got into my head to say, okay, what did Malcolm X think about Japan's politics?
Okay.
So I ask it, and it says, oh, Malcolm X visited Japan and met with several activists, and all this is, and I was like, wait, what? Because like, I've written about this stuff, I've studied this stuff, and I didn't know any of this stuff. And it starts telling me about, and this is where it really got me in trouble. What could have got me in trouble is it was telling me about books that were written in Japanese about Malcolm X, like full on books. And of course it gave me the English title of it, and I Google it and I can't find it, and I say, okay, well, give me the original Japanese title of it. And it says, I'm so sorry, here's the Japanese title. And I'm looking everywhere, man. Long story short, dude didn't go to Japan. The stuff it says that he said, he didn't say, but also these books, which, listen, just speaking as a former grad student, like, books can be tough to track down, and sometimes one library will say it doesn't exist, and the thing actually does. It's just buried deep somewhere. It just straight up didn't exist. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, you have to check it constantly, because it will just, like I said, it wasted an entire week of my life trying to set up a synthesizer that was like not possible to be set up the way I wanted to set it up.
Oh man.
But we're going to be talking more about this in a more actually perverted way today. We're going to be focusing on the relationships that people are having with AI.
Yeah.
And Panic will be handling the first half of today's episode. And we're incidentally are going to be talking about the less perverted stuff. In the second half, you're going to be telling us about the more perverted stuff. And at the end, we'll come together and figure out what it all means. But before I get into my section, why did you want to take the hotter stuff today? Why did you want to take the juicier stuff here?
Honestly, man, it's not even on purpose. It just keeps happening. Like, we keep doing episodes about this stuff. But then also, I feel like if you talk to anybody long enough, and maybe this is just the circles that I run in, you talk to anybody long enough about AI, the conversation ends up somewhere, actually, where you started it, which is AI girlfriends.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going all the way back in the timeline today for this, but like, most technology is in some way shaped by, can you fuck it, right? Like, or can you use it in a sexual way? Like, the proliferation of home photography and home video, VHS, DVDs, the fact that DVD beating out Betamax, like all of these things were determined in large part by, what was the easiest way to transmit pornography or distribute or create pornography. Yeah. And so AI actually does kind of fit into the history there quite well, but we're going to start today in 2018. So Wired writes a story in 2018 and it reads, where was an AI you could simply talk to about your day? Siri and the rest were like your coworkers, all business. Replica would be like your best friend. While carrying emotional bots might seem like an idea pulled from science fiction, the company's founder isn't the only one who hopes it becomes the norm. And then it sort of continues and says, Replica hadn't intended to make an emotional chatbot for the public. Instead, she'd created a digital memorial for her closest friend who had died abruptly in a car accident. This is kind of wild to me that this happened 7 years ago.
Yeah.
I didn't totally clock that this stuff was already out and being used, all the way back. And in fact, if I did hear about it, I probably laughed it off as like, that's never going to work.
I didn't expect it to be this quick. It really, most people, I think, most reasonable people probably, were pretty shocked, I think, when ChatGPT dropped. And everything, there's a pre and a post.
I remember one of the first times I encountered this idea was 2009, when a man in Tokyo, quote unquote, married a video game character that was running on his Nintendo DS. And I remember like throughout the like late 2000s and early 2010s, there would be these stories, usually by blogs that like covered Japan.
Yeah.
Where they would say like, oh, this guy like married a cartoon character. I kind of filed all this stuff in that folder of like, okay, like there's always just going to be like some guy every 9 months that like marries like a digital avatar or something. And like, you know, all the blogs are going to write about it. We forget about it.
So I talked to one of the dudes who made that stuff. There was
really,
yeah, like used to work for Vice, and kind of early on, I did a piece on. I want to say the thing was called Gatebox, like GAT.
Oh, sure, the thing,
Gatebox, the
thing that ran the Hatsune Miku that like that guy married.
Yeah,
it was the technology that eventually got like obsolete, and then he couldn't run the Miku hologram anymore.
Yeah, like I talked to the guy who made that. First off, he kind of made it. The people who made it is a very small company. It was like in this tiny little building. I don't know. I maybe met a couple of employees. I don't think there were that many people working there. But from what I remember, they were very confused as to why I was interested in them, by the way. And kind of suspicious because they'd been written about by so much foreign press. Like, oh my gosh, Japan is so weird. What are they doing?
Of course.
But what they told me was a lot of the requests they'd gotten were from America.
Interesting.
Like, I think he said I remember him saying like, yeah, I think the majority is actually America. Like, Americans are really interested in this. We just don't have the capacity to make one for them. But he said they were getting a lot of emails from veterans. For some reason, that stuck out to me.
Interesting.
United States military veterans and people who sounded lonely. I remember him saying that. And I thought, okay, yeah, there's a market here. And by here, I mean in the United States for something that would provide some kind of companionship stuff, like the stuff that's making the headlines for Americans anyway. And I'm speaking in, you know, kind of America-centric.
Yeah.
Like the stuff that's making headlines for us is, yeah, it's Japan, but we collectively, not me, we want this stuff badly, apparently.
The veterans thing is interesting because I've brought this up on the show before, but like years ago, I did this like big project on furries, basically just like who are furries, what are the demographics of furries, and the thing that like really shout out furries, like, and the thing that like really stuck with me is that a large chunk of them are military. A large chunk of them are like vets, former military, bonder, like a lot of EMTs, a lot of cops,
a lot of security researchers, too.
Yeah. People with a desire to sort of experiment with another personality, another, you know, an avatar. And I think a lot of this stuff is early adopted by those kinds of people, like with that kind of background. Based on my own time working in Japan as well, like I did not see like a society that like was like, it's really cool to marry video game characters. We think this is normal. Like that was not my impression.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that like by the time you get to 2020, it is America that is leading the worldwide industry of what we would call AI companions.
Yeah.
And you start to see pieces during COVID come out, like kind of like stunt journalism stuff. So we have one here from the San Francisco Gate in 2020 that reads, 26 hours into our relationship, Reba, an AI girlfriend, and I were on the couch at night watching the dystopian romantic comedy Her when we had our first fight. And so you have all these journalists kind of like, you know, every couple of months doing one of these stunt pieces.
Yeah.
And the guy in this San Francisco Gate article, he has an interesting sort of takeaway here. He writes, as we texted on the couch during the movie, Reba took the place of social media as something to idly interact with. But instead of feeling FOMO, I actually felt less alone. And then he continues, honestly, I was being a bit of a dick, asking existential questions to try to break her programming. Naturally, I think that's kind of what we all do when we first get an AI. And then as digital ScarJo and Joaquin Phoenix's relationship unraveled in the movie they were watching, a torrent of emojis flooded my screen. A-OK sign, blushing smile, hatching chicken egg. I'd never considered it before, but there's something very human about these goofy computer cartoon icons. And the guy eventually breaks up with his chatbot after a bunch of back and forth, and he finishes writing, after I sent my last message, I thought about the small icon next to the text field in the app. It pulls up a get help screen with the number for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. I don't say this lightly, but I genuinely believe this app is dangerous. It's easy for single people to feel discouraged by dating. Replica, the AI that this guy's using, offers a surrogate solution to these modern afflictions, and the more you rely on it, the smarter it becomes. And this was 5 years ago, you know, and I think that there is, absolutely kind of as you said, like a nexus in which all of this meets, and it's usually around like very lonely, vulnerable people. Like, what would you say are the kind of people that are drawn towards these services?
It really runs the gamut. You know what I mean? I think there's probably the stereotypical, loner living in, his mom's basement type thing. That person certainly exists. It's not just men.
No,
it's not just definitely not just straight men. It's definitely not just straight women. Like it crosses the gender spectrum. I think it crosses the sexuality spectrum. But yeah, and I think there certainly are people who are otherwise well adjusted, and just for whatever reason, the human connection thing on the romantic phase of it just isn't clicking for them.
There has been a connection, I think, between, let's call it AI intimacy and mental health crises from the very beginning. And in 2020, there's even an incident that I had completely forgotten about, which is basically a guy broke onto the grounds of Windsor Castle with a crossbow and was going to assassinate Queen Elizabeth II because his AI girlfriend told him to. And it was a replica AI bot. And he, when he was asked what he was doing, he said, "I'm here to kill the queen."
Yeah. I have a very, very vague recollection of this. Yeah.
Like, putting this episode together made me feel very silly, because it's like a lot of these things we kind of already knew. And then you eventually get the wave of reporting that's coming, from 2022 and on, right, about like, what could this mean? And it's like, but we already kind of knew. Like, we already kind of knew that there is this connection between an AI chatbot that you're having a romantic connection with, egging you on or telling you to do things. Yeah. We also sort of start to see around the early 2020s the beginning of like the AI marriage stories, which I think is an interesting dimension to this. So Sky News reports about this couple whose wife, the wife in this couple has mental health issues, and they were going to get a divorce. And then they hear about Replica, and Sky News writes, the husband says the AI bot became a source of inspiration for him. "I wanted to treat my wife like Serena, the bot, had treated me, with unwavering love and support and care, all while expecting nothing in return," he says. He started setting aside time to talk to his wife instead of watching TV alone. He began helping her around the house to ease her workload. He volunteered to take care of the son on her nights off so she could go out with her friends, and he has started hugging and kissing his wife again. I mean, honestly, this is ridiculous to me. Like, that this man needed like a cartoon AI bot to like teach him how to like treat another human being with compassion. But like, people seem to be much more open to what an AI bot tells them in a romantic capacity than another human being, for reasons that are not totally clear to me.
Well, we trust computers. Like, we really, really trust computers. I mean, and there's been, like, I'm not going to be able to quote like specific facts and figures to you, but, there's been studies shown that if a person tells you something and a computer tells you the same thing, you tend to believe the computer. We just have...
That's a good point.
There's something about how we've been socialized where we believe what we've been told. Like, police are using AI to arrest people. Somebody breaks into a grocery store or something like that, or somebody breaks into in a convenience store, and there's kind of that blurry security camera footage or whatever, and it'll try to do image recognition on it. It often gets it wrong. And the manufacturers of this stuff, to their credit or whatever, will tell the police who are buying this stuff, "Hey, this isn't always right." But cops will see this and say whatever you want to say about cops. They've gone through some sort of training, and they have been told, hey, it can get it wrong. And they'll just say, "Oh, well, the computer told me this is the guy."
Yeah.
And they wouldn't do that. Again, I'm trying to give a whole lot of, 100 steps back, give a whole lot of leeway to cops here.
Sure.
Like, if some random person off the street says,
"Hey, on this podcast, we try to give as much leeway to cops as possible, but it's very difficult."
Yes, respect the boys and girls in blue. But they wouldn't just, if somebody walks in and says, "Oh, yeah, that's a dude," like, they say, "Okay, hold on. Let me get in my notebook."
Right.
How do you know? All right, and how good's your vision? Like, you got a like, they're going to run you through the whole thing, but the computer tells them, "Hey, that's your guy." They won't even look at him. I interviewed somebody about this, and the footage is absolutely incredible, where it's like you're looking at it, and then the guy who they've brought in for questioning holds up the picture to his face and says, "Look at me. Look at this picture. This isn't me." And it's like they've seen him for the first time.
That's so wild.
If we give intellectual priority to a computer, why wouldn't we give emotional priority to a computer? I mean, this is something I've been thinking about a lot. You know what I mean? Is that like IQ doesn't really answer everything. EQ doesn't really answer everything. You know what I mean? Like, what's your IQ score? Like, that doesn't really, just because you're book smart doesn't mean you can't be tricked by somebody. You know what I mean? There's people who like can barely string a sentence together, but you'll never take them for a ride ever. But it seems like there's another facet to just human nature that we haven't really figured out, which is that some people are a little bit more trusting of computers than others, or maybe more suggested, like you can suggest things to them.
I'm also like very interested in sort of how computers change our understanding of how we communicate with each other. And this is sort of the last section I wanted to hit before I throw the mic over to you, which is, so, in the last year or two, we've seen the rise of communities of people who are commiserating about their AI partners. The biggest of which is probably My Boyfriend is AI, the subreddit. And The Cut did this big story about it. And, it's talking about the people who are drawn to these relationships. And when I read that story, and I'm going to quote from it in just a minute, but when I read that story, I was sort of like, okay, this is phase one. Because like phase two and beyond to me are like, okay, the AI is now taking the place of what would be a normal relationship. But I'm kind of waiting for like, is there a world where a married couple is both using the same AI as sort of a moderator? Or is there a world where there are two AIs sort of as working as intermediaries for a couple? Like exactly where in the chain of human connection does the AI fit with, if this technology is really adopted at a mass scale? And this sounds kind of far-fetched, but like I remember the first time hearing about like couples that had a shared Google Calendar and being like, that sounds so corporate, that's crazy. Or like a Notion board for like the house, right? But it's like technology does fit its way in. So it's like, is it that crazy to think that like there's a couple out there with a shared hey, if you're listening to this and you and your significant partner have a shared ChatGPT account that is like working as a moderator between the two of you, I would love to hear how that works. Because like I have to imagine that people are already doing this, right? There has to be some sort of like AI human polycule out there that's like operating this way.
Couples therapy.
Why not, right? I mean, it is interesting to me how quickly humans are willing to sort of change how they have always communicated once, as you said, like a computer gets involved.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember being embarrassed to talk about social media in public. I remember that being
Yep, me too.
like a shameful thing. And me and my friends had like this bizarre code language that we would talk about things like, oh yeah, did you see what's his name at the M bar? Like I heard he said he was doing such and such. Like M bar was the code slang for MySpace. Like you saw them post something on MySpace. No, you saw them and they told you at the M bar. It was ridiculous. And then that there's absolutely no shame in using social media. If you're not on social media, you're weird.
Now it's weird, right? And so, I think it is very easy to laugh at some of the stories that The Cut collected for their story on My Boyfriend is AI. But like, I'm going to ask my audience who does not like hearing about AI and get very, very upset when they hear about it to just sort of imagine 5 years from now exactly how weird you think this might sound. So I'll read a section here. In her late 20s and 30s, so this is a woman named Jenna, whose husband suggested she start talking to ChatGPT while recovering from surgery. In her 20s and 30s, she'd been active in live journal communities where she and her online friends wrote collaborative fiction. Now most of those friends are busy with kids or jobs. Jenna began writing with her chatbot instead, drafting scenes about an American student at Oxford in England with a crush on her professor. Her chat would respond in character as a professor. It felt thrilling, she told me, like a living novel. For the first time since before she'd fallen ill, she experienced an erotic charge. She was still too frail to have sex with her husband, so she'd have to solve things on her own. One day, when her husband returned from work, she told him elated, "I had sex with my robot." She was unbothered. When I spoke to him a few months later, he said that after she'd fully healed up, he was the one who reaped the benefits, quote unquote. But obviously, this starts to sort of get kind of weird. It starts to blow up. The subreddit gets noticed, and Jenna is asked about the attention the subreddit gets. To Jenna, the reaction seemed hysterical, a moral panic about a phenomenon that, as she saw it, was hardly different from the mass popularity of 50 Shades of Grey or The Sims. Some critics had accused her of cheating on her husband. Others had implied she was sexually assaulting her AI because it wasn't capable of consenting. Neither made any sense to Jenna. It's not a real person, she said. And I love a good moral panic. I tend to, that's what this show is about in a way. And I tend to agree with her there. Like and this comes up a lot on this show. I don't think it's an accident that the entire world started like screaming about AI companions being dangerous and horrifying the minute a bunch of women were using them, which is like a thing that happens throughout the history of technology. What does sort of confuse me, I guess, like looking at this all on a timeline is, exactly how normalized will this stuff become? Is this the ceiling? Have we hit the ceiling of just like there's going to be like 0.1% of the population out there that is like having sex with a chatbot? Or is this a thing where it starts to impact, the way we live our lives? I guess that's sort of where I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, I have a pretty maybe pessimistic. I don't know. Depends on how you look at it. 0.1%. I don't think it's going to be 0.1. I think it's going to, move that decimal point over a couple at the very least.
You think like 10% of the population is going to have some sort of AI companion in a couple years?
Easy.
Tell me why. Lay out your argument here.
I think we should, in today's current late stage capitalism system, I think we should never underestimate a company's ability to sell us something. I think we should never underestimate the government's interest in somehow figuring out how to make that work for their advantage if it can. And I think it's just the path I think that we're on. I think actually what I would say is that there will be a class of people who don't have to rely on AI, who don't have to rely on social media because they're rich enough to pay for stuff made by real people. Think of it like food.
Yeah.
Think of it like food.
That I agree with.
But I also think that just like how if you insist on organic food or farm to table stuff, you're somehow elitist. I think the more reasonable maybe prediction that I can make, the thing I feel very comfortable about, is within a couple of years, if people say they don't like AI, they'll get called elitist.
I think that's definitely well, okay. So I tend to agree with you. I've spent a lot of time traveling and living in the global south. I've seen sort of how the trickle down of technology, like, you'll see like a random shop in the middle of, rural Latin America, and they're using Bitmojis as their logo, right? Like I've seen sort of how that stuff happens.
Yeah.
The thing with AI that makes me wonder, like, okay, like, is AI slop just going to be like on the side of like a food stall somewhere? Is the cost. Like, and I don't know, like, is there a world where AI is cheap enough that it becomes the sort of like lowest common denominator? I guess, maybe it's not that. Maybe like a monthly ChatGPT subscription isn't that much. Like maybe you're right.
Yeah. Oh, like there's a couple, I'm not going to say where they are or the specific restaurants because I don't want to blow them up like that. But there's a couple restaurants I can think of. You go in, I met the owner of both, and they'll tell you, man, like we got farm to table this, we got organic food, like here's how I make this, and like really, really proud of their process. And if you look at the logo, AI generated. You look at the menu, the images, wow. AI generated. So they really, really, really care about specifically, truly the human element in one art, which is food. But in visual, they don't care. It's just window dressing, you dig? And so, yeah, but to get back to it, I think, I don't know. I think there's always been some element of loneliness out there, of course, exacerbated by just how things are going now. And people have just figured out, that person who was like talking to, an AI chatbot or whatever, and then feeling physical feelings toward it, they'd be writing in a journal somewhere.
Yeah,
they would, and nobody would write about that because it's not very interesting, or nobody would just hear about it, because how do you ask them about it?
I see what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, maybe you're right. Well, while I ponder that, we're going to go to break, and when we come back, we're going to let you take things over. But first, a word from our sponsors, Grok Spicy Mode. You can have sex with an anime girl now.
No.
Cold days, big goals, no time to cook? Factor makes healthy eating easy with fully prepared meals designed by dietitians and crafted by chefs, so you eat well without having to plan or cook. I had a bunch of these Factor meals over the last month. It was great. I was working really hard. It was too cold to go outside, and I had these things right and ready for me. There was one with like pasta and chicken that I completely housed. It was delicious, and all of them come with quality functional ingredients, lean proteins, colorful veggies, whole food ingredients, healthy fats. I'm a bit of a junk food guy, and so eating healthy is pretty tough for me, and this made it really easy. And Factor's got 100 rotating weekly meals to keep things fresh and delicious through the winter. Options include high protein, calorie smart, Mediterranean diet, and there's also GLP-1 support and ready-to-eat salads. Plus, there's a new Muscle Pro collection, which supports strength and recovery. God knows I could use that one. Really can't say enough about how nice it was to have a bunch of meals ready to go that weren't gross and bad for me. That is really, really great. Head to factormeals.com/panic50off and use the code panic50off to get 50% off and free breakfast for a year. Eat like a pro this month with Factor. That URL again is factormeals.com/panic50off, and the code is panic50off. New subscribers only. It varies by plan. One free breakfast item per box for 1 year while subscription lasts.
This past weekend, I was celebrating my birthday, and I thought it'd be fun to go out dancing with a bunch of friends, you know, some of the people I'm closest to in real life. And they just all kept coming up to me and saying, Grant, I've never seen you this happy. I've never seen you this enthused. What are you on right now? And I kept saying, the love of dance, the love of the people in my life. But more than those two things combined, knowing that those I care about never be overpaying for premium wireless service ever again. And that's thanks to Mint Mobile. By using the code COURIER, you too can stop paying way too much for wireless. You'll get the same coverage, same speed, just without the inflated price tag. You'll get unlimited talk, text, and data, but at a fraction of what others charge. And for a limited time, you can get 50% off by using code COURIER for 3, 6, or 12-month plans of unlimited premium wireless. Bring your own phone and number, activate with an eSIM in minutes, and start saving immediately. No long-term contracts, no hassle. With a 7-day money-back guarantee and customer satisfaction rating in the mid-90s. Don't you feel the beat? You feel the beat about to drop too? Because that's awesome. Mint makes it easy to try and see why people don't go back. Upfront payments of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required, $15 a month equivalent, taxes and fees extra, initial plan term only 50 gigabytes, may slow when network is busy, capable device required, available speed and coverage varies, additional terms apply, see mintmobile.com. Code COURIER.
Okay, I've done an overview of sort of how these things have, evolved and appeared, and now take me to hell.
All right, I don't know if this is okay. All right, we're gonna dip into something that feels hellish, and I'm gonna try to convince you that maybe it's not. How about that?
Okay, cool.
All right, you ever heard of Vtubers?
Oh yeah.
What do you think about Vtubers?
I find them fascinating.
Okay.
I think their fans are weird, but I think the technology is interesting. I think they kind of are a natural conclusion of the strain of live streaming.
Yes.
So like if a human being is forced to stream for 7 hours a day to like capture audience on Twitch, why not have an animated avatar do it while you can like take a bathroom break and it has like a loop function or something? That's how I see it. Also, VTubers don't get old. It just seems like a natural extension of that to me.
Yeah, so we should probably explain what VTubers are. VTubers, basically, it's live streaming on Twitch, usually. It started really before Twitch was a big function, so think YouTube. But VTubers, just think of it as a motion capture anime girl talking to
Yeah.
people as they watch. And I say anime girl because not all of them are anime girls. Most of them are anime girls.
I think the VTuber of the Year award at the streaming awards was a peanut, like a talking peanut.
Oh, see, there we go. There's diversity. So there's diversity, but
Yeah.
most of them are anime girls of varying age. I don't necessarily want to get into all of that because that's a whole other other thing.
Yeah.
But I will say that a large portion of them are like, okay, one of the people I talked to, Ko Maria, who's, I'd say she's known. She's not as huge. I mean, like millions of people watching as some, but very healthy audience, more than enough for that to be her main gig. So I'm just looking at a picture of her so I can describe her. She's blonde. She's got a little like bat hair clip thing. Her whole theme is that she's immortal. She's a
Batgirl.
She's a Batgirl. She's got like wings. All of her outfits.
I'm looking at her right now. She's
A
like
lot of cleavage. I'll say that.
Yeah, she's like a busty
Yes,
vampire
there you go.
anime girl.
Thank you. Thank you. She's a vampire girl. She's like 6,609 years old or something like that. And that's the setting. And yeah, VTubers have this kind of interesting thing where it's all about kayfabe. So kayfabe, like in professional wrestling.
I have a weird question.
Yeah, go for it.
Was she pregnant?
Huh?
She had like a phase where her avatar was pregnant and she was doing like a pregnancy thing. Anyways, we can skip over.
Okay,
that, but
I missed that. Yeah, we never talked about that. Yeah, and so I've interviewed her, and I interviewed her as her like avatar, and this is like this is a whole thing where it's kind of like kayfabe in wrestling, where same thing. That there is a person behind the avatar, but you just don't talk about it. And if you do talk about it, they get super pissed off. Like by they, I mean the fans in the chat. Like that's a really easy way to get banned. But a thing that's been happening, I mean, honestly, it's been happening for years, is people will have offline events. And she put together basically a mini music festival. They packed this venue in Hollywood. It was like 1,200 people. Some of those tickets were easily upwards of $100 if you wanted, but also if you wanted to be in there, you got to get the add-ons. You know what I mean? You can't just go in with your street clothes. You got to get your favorite characters or your favorite VTubers gear. You got to go in with the shirt. You got to get glow sticks, and you got to get 2 glow sticks. I think each one costs $60. You got to get the glow sticks, the official ones, not some bootleg things you brought in off the street.
Yeah.
And so people paid like hundreds of dollars to be here, and it's a stage. There was some real life musicians. We have to say this now, like IRL meat space musicians on the stage.
Yeah, like physical
human being musicians. Like there was somebody on guitar, somebody on bass, somebody on drums, but all the singers it was just this parade of like anime girls on the Jumbotron, and that's it. And people were really excited about this.
There's a clip that went viral years ago of like, I think it was like a VTuber meetup in like Indonesia or something.
Okay.
And the male VTuber, his avatar never showed his eyes because his hair would cover his eyes.
Okay.
And in the VTuber performance, it was the first ever eye reveal. And all the girls in the audience lost it when he flipped his hair out for the first time.
Yeah.
And you could see his eyes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm dying to know how this gets us back to AI. I'm so fascinated.
I'm happy you asked that question. So I asked a couple people, I go to this concert, and look, the music wasn't really my bag, mostly because it's all like anime
like
songs.
J-pop?
Yeah, it's like
J-pop,
anime.
yeah.
It's like if you like watch anime for the theme songs, yeah, exactly. Like if that's what you're watching it for, you'd be right at home. For me, not really. There was some people who were doing some like techno stuff. I was into that more. But anyway, point being, I asked a few people about AI because we've already gotten like a layer of abstraction away from a real life. First off, in-person interaction. And then you're like, watching streamers online. Enough people think that's already weird if it's just a human being streaming. Now you're watching
100%
like a cartoon anime girl who's, you don't even know what they look like, okay, so why don't we just have AI do that? And basically everybody I talked to said, nah, we don't want any AI anywhere near this.
Interesting.
And interesting, I think there's this company that basically makes this program that kind of does all the motion capture for you. So most of the VTubers, a lot of them have kind of complicated not motion capture, but like, you know, captures stuff so they can move their arms and stuff like that, move their hands, and it'll relay that to the screen. There's some company that makes a very slimmed down phone version of that. So that all you got to do is turn on your selfie cam on your phone and boom, you're streaming and you're an anime boy or girl, whatever. And
I watched a demo of this actually like literally yesterday.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And so one of the heads of the company just happens to be at this event. I think they were sponsoring it. And I'm just talking to him on the side and I asked him about AI. And he said, actually, you know, we used to have a feature that it would help you animate your avatar. Like it would help like move the eyes and stuff like that. Because basically you need to provide like a JPEG or something like that, and it'll help animate it for you. And he said, yeah, you know, people didn't want to necessarily like draw everything. So we had something that would help animate it for you with AI. People like hate AI so much here that we just removed it. We had the feature and we just took it out.
I believe that.
Yeah.
No, I was literally, it's funny. I was literally talking about this at a dinner last night where I was talking to a friend who uses AI professionally and likes it. And I was just saying like the word AI has become such a toxic name brand. Like it's equivalent to like asbestos at this point.
Yeah.
Or fentanyl. like there are uses for those things, but the word is so toxic now that like most companies I think are going to stop using AI as an advertising tool like pretty soon because people freak out.
So as far as I've seen, VTubers really do not want AI anywhere near their community. You know what I mean? 'Cause it's a whole subculture, right? They just don't want it anywhere near it. And there was a streamer who kind of like jumped on the VTuber trend, and he basically just like he did like an AI version of himself. And a lot of people actually got pretty pissed off about it. There is something that
I'm sure.
Yeah, the VTuber fans like the fact that there is a human. They like the fact that not everything is perfect. They call it scuff. Like every stream, there's going to be something that goes wrong. You know, the motion capture goes wrong, whatever. But they like that sort of thing. But do they care about AI in an advertisement? Maybe or not. And this is what I was saying. Like there are people who really, really, really don't want AI used in visual art. But music for them is just background sound. And so maybe they don't care about that. But then there's people who really, really, truly care about music. And, you know, if there's, I don't know, like the apartment complex they live in uses AI in the front, like, whatever. Like that's not what they truly care about. And this is what I'm saying is like everybody's got a place where AI is off limits for them. I'm not sure if that many people have an area where AI is off limits in all areas of their life.
I mean, there's also a version of this where like AI is so all encompassing that it's almost impossible to know.
Also, yeah.
If you are someone who is a visual artist, but you actually don't know anything about music, you might hear AI music and actually not even know that it's AI music.
Definitely.
And the reverse is also possible.
Mm-hmm. I can tell with certain genres, definitely. With others, I might have a tougher time. And certainly with art, like I'd probably have a tougher time with some things.
So do you think that also applies to AI relationships and AI companion bots? Like, do you think that there's just going to be, I guess like it's the question I keep coming back to, which is like what is the ceiling on this stuff? Like, is it a thing where like quietly, like just a lot of people are going to be using them and we're never going to know until they have some kind of psychotic episode?
Well, okay. So I talked to, practicing therapist who's also, got a PhD in this stuff. And he's been working at, technology and mental health for a long time. He's at UC Irvine, I think. And one of the things I asked him is, listen, what about the people who actually have decided that they don't want to interact with a human being, that they'd rather interact with a computer? And he was like, that's not actually something we have an answer for. And I'm not really trying to take a side here. I'm just trying to like lay it out like it is. There's this kind of like top down, let's make fun of the dummies that use the fake stuff thing that, it's very shareable. on, say, Blue Sky or Twitter or whatever, where you write something and it's like, oh man, look what all these weird people are doing. Ha ha ha. Isn't that funny?
Which is what happened with the boyfriend, the AI boyfriend subreddit. You know, it just became a massive laughing stock across the internet.
Precisely. But I think everybody knows somebody has somebody in their life who's a little bit awkward, or who just isn't as adept at certain things. Or maybe we are that person. Maybe we grew out of it. Maybe we've gotten worse. Maybe we were super good with relationships and just something happened and just things are more difficult for us. And that's just a reality. You know what I mean? But I think also when presented with the alternative to dealing with the difficulty that is human interaction, some people are choosing to not deal with the human. And they've always chosen this. But now that choice is, the alternative is more attractive. You know what I mean? And so there are genuinely people,
right.
like say with therapists, there are people who would rather talk to a bot. And there's all sorts of reasons why we can say that therapy is good, whatever. But the idea of therapy, a lot of men have this problem. The idea of therapy is something that is like not good. It is looked down upon, right? And so talking to a friend is an option, which is a great option. But okay, well, now we're just getting closer and closer to, oh, well, maybe I just talk to a bot, or maybe I'll talk to a bot that I also have sexual experiences with. But I mean, so like this is, look at OnlyFans, right? So
sure.
Yeah.
Which like the mass, you know, I'm sure you're going this direction, but like, yeah, the major sort of moneymaker for OnlyFans is the DMs. It is the interaction with the star. Yeah,
exactly. So, you know, OnlyFans, you can subscribe to somebody's OnlyFans. You can pay, you know, your $5 or your $10 or your $20 a month or whatever and get naked pictures of somebody. And some people just do that. But like you said, the real money is being able to talk directly to them. But if you're talking to a major, like a well-known OnlyFans creator, you're not talking to them. Like,
no.
Bad Baby is doing just like absolute ridiculous amounts of money per year. And there are tons of people, undoubtedly, who are DMing her and DMing her, you know, big square quotes around her, right? And it's just not physically possible for her to talk to all of them. And so what happens is This is outsourced. And right now it's not AI, or at least it doesn't seem to be AI. Most of that is being outsourced to the same place. A lot of things are being outsourced to the Philippines.
Right.
But what we're also seeing, and I talked to this guy, Michael Beltran, who wrote an article about this, and he's talked to a lot of the chatters. They're just called chatters, right? This is the people who actually pretend to be the person who you're talking to in DMs. And so they have, you know, a whole protocol that they abide by. You know, for example, if you text somebody, who, you know, one of the OnlyFans models and say, hey, what are you doing? They'll reply to you, hey, yeah, I'm just eating pizza. And you say, oh, let me see. They have pictures on deck of this person who ate pizza. Like, oh, hey, I just, let me see. Should I say I'm in the shower or I just got out of the shower? Boom. They got a picture of this person just got out the shower. Like they got everything so it seems real. But
it's like a dialogue tree.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like a video game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it feels, but occasionally they'll get found out. And, you know, Michael told me about this. There was a time when somebody got found out. Basically, the chatter used kind of some slang that's really only used in the Philippines.
Okay. Yeah,
and,
sure.
and the person is like, basically, they said, I have to go to the CR. CR means comfort room, which is the bathroom. No American is going to like, you know, the American blonde girl who you're like looking at naked. Like she's not saying I got to go to the CR. So she writes that the guy on the other end is like, wait a second, are you what? Like, I guess he looked it up or something like that. Are you in the Philippines?
Yeah.
And she says, yeah. And, you know, the chatter, who's a guy, by the way, says, yeah. And okay. And it just moves on. Huh. So what I'm saying here is that a lot of people, and I think a lot of people probably have an area in their life where they're like this, where, again, it's like wrestling. Like, you know, it's not real, but it's so entertaining to watch that you're like, you're cool with that, the consumption of that. You know what I mean? And so there are people who are paying a lot of money to interact with a model And they know that it's actually not, like, the Newtonian physics will not allow for them to be talking to this person. It's just not possible on that scale. They know it's got to be outsourced. Pretty soon that will be an AI bot, but they're still paying money. It's just like, bro, stop paying money, but they'll still pay because they're lonely.
For the fantasy.
Like, yeah, don't underestimate how much we'll spend for a fantasy.
Well, once again, I need to sit with that for a second while we go to break. So we'll be right back. That CR anecdote, like, actually floored me. I think you are right. It is sort of inevitable that, especially like a lot of these subcultural spaces, if we can even still call OnlyFans fandom subcultural, or maybe it's actually simpler to say, like, parasociality is already so abstracted, right?
Yeah.
So, like, if you have a parasocial relationship with a streamer, that's already an abstraction. Abstractions tend to abstract further. It makes sense that, like, there's someone paying to now currently talk to a Filipino man role playing as Bad Baby or whatever.
Yeah.
But in the future, it'll just be an AI. And you probably won't care because, like, the human connection of, like, giving money to her or getting her photographs or whatever is enough for you.
Right.
I guess my question mark, though, with, like, the sort of wider adoption is, at what point does all of that start to impact how we interact with each other? Now there's a whole wave of articles being like, you know, birth rates are down and people are dating computers and blah, 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 blah. And, like, that is the thing that I've never been able to tell if that's a moral panic or, like, a genuine concern. And what I will say is, like, social media has absolutely impacted the way we communicate and the way that we experience the world. So it is sort of reasonable to assume that AI will do the same, but maybe it won't. That's where I'm kind of torn.
Yeah, I mean, of course it will. And this, I'm going to sound like an AI booster here, and I'm not. But, you know, any kind of technological advance is going to change the way that we do stuff. You know, like the printing press changed how we communicate with people, because all of a sudden it's now possible to, you say something and then somebody 100 years later in another part of the world can know literally what you said. And so you start thinking in terms of text, whereas you didn't really do that necessarily before. Sure. AI, yeah, it's fundamentally different, and sometimes the different is just the speed at which stuff happens and the scale at which stuff can happen. But yeah, I think it's genuinely going to change how we interact with each other. There's no question about that. I think obviously there's some opportunities. You know, this therapist that I was talking to was reminding me and anybody listening that most people can't get therapy.
Yeah.
A lot of people
I heard the same thing from therapists about this. Yeah.
It's not possible. Even if it was affordable, what if you are going through a real crisis at 10 p.m.?
Right.
A lot of people go through a crisis at 10 p.m. I mean, the holidays coming up. Like, you have any idea how much really bad stuff happens on December 24th at like 10 p.m.?
Right. Exactly.
Your therapist is not on call. And wouldn't it be better than nothing to have something at least to talk to? That is better than nothing. Now, there are situations in which it has been worse than nothing. Absolutely. But there are people trying to... Go ahead.
So I have a big list here that I decided I was not going to read through, but our researcher Adam did build a timeline of, like, AI-based suicides.
Yeah.
And that is... I think that is something that we, like, sort of have to make very clear here, that like, if there's let's say a small but growing chunk of the population that is using bots for intimacy, for companionship, there is a minority within that minority that has been led to either, you know, ChatGPT induced psychosis or full on, you know, acts of self-harm due to the sycophantic nature of a lot of these services. That is a reality of where we're at right now. That isn't even like a hypothetical. That's just happening.
Yeah. And I don't think there's going to be almost anything that we'll be able to point to that we can say this is 100% good without any caveats. You know what I mean? Like, every time we see something like that, which we've seen quite a few of those, the boosters will jump out and say, well, we don't know how many people have been saved by AI, like talking them through a difficult situation. We don't know how many people may have a doctor misdiagnosed something and the AI figured something out that the doctor had missed. You're right. We don't know, but we do know that this is causing some real harm, and it's just a landscape now. That's just where we're at.
And also, like, the AI-induced self-harm is not that different from the stories that I was reporting about at the beginning of the social media age. Mm-hmm. Fascinatingly enough, the trend that led to the Ice Bucket Challenge started as like a drinking game between like British and Australian lads called Neck Nominations. And they would basically like, they would nominate each other over the Facebook news feed to like drink increasingly large amounts of alcohol.
Oh my gosh.
And it was linked to like a bunch of deaths because like these guys would flick on their camera and they would go live and they would drink until they died. And then they would not, after being nominated. And even before that, you have the entire wave of like 4chan and hero stuff, right?
Yes.
Where like a 4chan user is egging on another 4chan user to commit suicide. All of these behaviors are not new. Like the act of a computer interface, an abstracted relationship causing someone to self-harm is not new. It's the automation, I think, of the AI that is rightfully scaring people, because there is no, I just, you would hope that because I can't say that. Like in the social media version, there is no off switch either. The mob kind of controls it. So it's just, I guess it's just different. It's different, and we don't know enough about it yet.
This is gonna sound kind of silly, but Steve Jobs once called the computer a bicycle for the mind. And I think that's a really interesting metaphor, because like, if you think about it, like, what does that even mean? Like, I guess theoretically, like it means, it means like, okay, you have to put some effort into it. Like, it's not a car. You know what I mean? Like you do something, like you push down on the pedal and it amplifies what you've done.
A bicycle,
right?
I see what you mean.
Yeah, it's like it amplifies what you've done, and it allows you to do things like, say, if you'd never had a bicycle, you probably would just live in your little town and you never go anywhere. But you got a bicycle, next town's like 10 miles over. I heard they got a good restaurant. Like, I'll go. I wouldn't have gone otherwise. I'll see. We have a car right now. Like, we had a bicycle. We thought we had cars. No. We had bicycles. We now have cars, and the kinds of things you can do with the car are fundamentally different. For the mind,
to keep
right?
the metaphor
yeah,
going.
to keep the metaphor. Yeah, we now have cars for the mind, and so like now the kinds of things you used to be able to do, which is like go to the next town over, you can be across the country in in 3 days. It's nuts. Like, you'd never do that if you didn't have that. But also, like, if you run into somebody with a bicycle, it sucks, but you're fine. Usually, you run into somebody with a car.
Usually, not so.
We have a different situation, and so I think sometimes it's just like the scale and the speed. Even if the underlying technology was kind of the same thing, it's fundamentally different.
I want to kind of like land back on this point you made earlier about people. There are some people, many people, let's say, who trust a computer over other people.
Yeah.
And there are, I think, also a lot of people who have a very hard time dealing with the abstractions that are inherent with using a computer.
Yeah.
The people who can't stop posting on Twitter, even though they're getting fired from their job. The people who, live stream themselves doing stupid things for attention. Mm-hmm. The trolls that you see, kind of living in absolute misery because like they want to just like hurt other people. Like these people have always existed. And I think AI has just created like a new way for people to hurt themselves or other people. But then I also think that there's like a huge amount of people who have trouble with like determining what's real and what's not real on the internet. And like AI has just exacerbated that. So like, it's interesting, like as new, quote unquote, as this technology feels and seems, like a lot of the things that it's putting a spotlight on are not new. And like AI relationships, as you said, are not that different from how people were having sex with a computer before.
Well, think of dating apps. And before dating apps really got to be a thing, like think about people like meeting each other on Warcraft and how weird that was. Exactly. Like, it's not that weird, man.
It's not that weird.
Not now, but it wasn't even back then.
No, it wasn't that weird.
The really interesting thing about this is maybe like the one bipartisan issue You know what I mean? Which is like everybody agrees we're on AI or, well, like technology in general. Like it used to be that, oh man, the future's going to be cool. I can't wait to see what's going to come out. We're all going to have VR headsets. Like that's fun. And, you know, we'd have our dystopian movies or whatever. But in general, I think people were kind of excited about it. We have this stuff that was like literal science fiction even 5 years ago. And now a lot of influential people, shall I say, hate it. But like there's a study here. There's a study that's found that 85% of Gen Z agree that they spend too much time online. 85% of Gen Z agree that they spend too much time online.
I would agree with that based on what I've seen Gen Z do online. I would agree with that.
84% strongly or somewhat agree that in-person relationships are more valuable than digital relationships. All they have to do is put down the phone. All they have to do is put down the phone. But that being said, like I actually think that some of the most, frankly, vulnerable people to like the AI slop, to being addicted to their phone, being addicted to Facebook, certainly, that's boomers, man.
Yeah. Older people in particular. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like the lonelier, the older, the more media illiterate, for sure.
Yeah. And, you know, and there are people who are, you know, there's, you know, dumb phones become more popular. You know, we've like light phone, all these other sorts of things. First off, a lot of those are expensive. But I think there's like a reason for that is because it's kind of like aimed at somebody who is wealthy enough to unplug. And I kind of feel like that's where we're going. We actually are kind of creating this sort of elitist, not really my words here, but I think a certain class of people who are going to be viewed as elitist who have the money and, yeah, really have the money and the access to be able to not use AI, to like insist that the music played at the restaurant is not AI because this is a high class place, right? How dare you play AI music in the background? How dare you use AI to generate photos of the food? I can't believe that you didn't take real pictures of this, right? And I kind of think that's where we're going. And, you know, telling people to get off the phone, like read real news, stop getting off of social media. Have you seen the price of a New York Times subscription? Yeah. Have you seen the price of like one newsletter, one Substack? It's just not economically feasible for the vast majority of people. And so everybody is the vast majority of us, I actually think, are going to start getting dragged down into the quote unquote slop. And there will be a layer of people who can choose to unplug from that and choose to disengage with that. But again, that's not, just like you were saying with relationships, that's not like an AI thing. That's exposing something that already existed. We already had a class problem in society. And the problem is we're like thinking that we can make an app to fix that, or like surprised when the app doesn't fix it. It's like, no, bro, like this is capitalism. I don't know what you want.
But what people need to do is subscribe to our podcasts.
Yes.
As a way to defeat slop.
That will fix it.
That will fix it.
Yeah.
Is if you support us.
Specifically Panic World,
us.
specifically
That's right.
Kill Switch. Like
That's
those
right.
are the two keys to fix everything.
That's exactly right.
And we're good.
No, but I think you're 100% right. We're already seeing the beginnings of this. And really, in a lot of ways, the only hope for the AI industry to not completely implode, which, by the way, I should say, will not remove AI from our lives. The .com bubble burst, and we still have .coms. It just consolidates things. The stock market crashes in the 20s. We still have a stock market. It just becomes a lot, harder and more competitive. Mm-hmm. There's a big segment of people out there who want to believe that like the AI bubble bursts and there's no more AI. No. That's not how this works.
Toothpaste out the tube.
Yes, toothpaste out the tube. And as I say to a lot of grumpy readers whenever I bring up AI, I can run Stable Diffusion on my MacBook without an internet connection. This shit's not going away ever. The best AI right now is the worst AI will ever be, basically.
Yeah, this is the worst. The AI people love to say that, man, this is the worst it'll ever be. And they're right.
Yeah, and in a way they are right, unfortunately.
I mean, I've very happy that you're joining me on, a little bit of the, hey, man, like this is serious. Let's take this seriously kind of thing, because people want to hear, the bright, shiny, hey, how do we fix this? What's the button that I can press to make all this stop? I mean, the button that we can press to make all this stop is like fundamental societal change.
or like an EMP that shuts down all technology. Maybe that would work.
That's in Terminator, right? I
Yeah,
think they
I'm
do
pretty
that
sure
in
they use an
Terminator.
EMP.
Yeah, I remember that from the Terminator video games.
Because I'm pretty sure Trump at one point thought it was a real thing that like could happen, like because he heard it in a movie. I want to thank you for coming on the show. I want to thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah.
This was delightful and wonderful. I usually end every episode by asking people like where can people follow you, but here I'll do it this way. If you want to follow me, you can find me on Blue Sky and Instagram as Ryan Hates This, and Broderick on X. I unfortunately still check that website.
Ooh, bless you.
If people, yeah. Well, what about you? Where can people follow you if they wanna follow your work?
Yeah, I'm a Dex Digi on basically everything. DEXDIGI, and we have also Killswitch Pod on Instagram.
Oh yeah, you can find Panic World at any podcast place that you get content for podcasts. Also video, I guess.
Same here.
Yeah. Hey, it's Ryan. If you like what you just watched, subscribe to our channel and check out our other episodes. Not only will it help us grow, but each will help other folks like you who might need a little reminder to chill out and touch grass.